Hi, my name's Ian Nelson. I'm the founder of Talent Futures, and welcome to our blog on the top 5 sectors for growth in the UK post-COVID. We annually write a blog on the top 5 sectors for growth in the recruitment sector and have done for the last 9 years. But this year is pretty exceptional. It's exceptional trading conditions for all you businesses out there. And we've been asked by a number of people how the COVID-19 outbreak has affected what we saw as being the top sectors for growth. And as a number of you are trying to grow your businesses, this is a really key and an important time for you. So we thought we'd share our thoughts on this today. So if we go back to January this year when this blog was released, let's just remind ourselves what was happening in the world at the time. Well, we were just coming out of a period of uncertainty caused by political uncertainty, if we're honest with each other, caused by the fact that we didn't have a stable government. We had a general election, and as a result of that, rightly or wrongly, we ended up with a Conservative government with a reasonable majority. That has given us political certainty. It means we're not swaying from one political decision to another, and the government moved forward with BREXIT. And at that point, there was no virus impact, and we were just going through a mini subject. And these were our thoughts at that time. So we were expecting, like a lot of economists, we were expecting a boom in the UK economy caused by the degree of certainty over Brexit, the stable UK government. There was pent-up demand in the economy, and the UK government had announced some strong spending which was due to impact gross domestic product in the UK. In addition, China and the United States had signed a trade deal which we saw would have a good strong impact on our economy. And so we felt this year was set for some really strong growth. So in terms of conditions for success in recruitment, over the last 25, 30 years, certainly the years that I've been involved with recruitment, the sector has grown and flourished because we've been short of skills in certain markets. The demand exceeding supply in certain sectors has created the need for niche recruiters. And in those markets where there are good levels of supply, we saw the opportunity then, and we still see the same today, for recruitment businesses to grow and flourish. So what has changed in this post-COVID world? Okay, well, if we go back to the beginning of the year, we tipped public sector as being a strong sector to be in, but not within our top 5. And actually, you know what? Not a great deal has changed in that. Government expenditure is still planning to go ahead if you take the healthcare sector out of it. And therefore we're quite positive about the opportunities that exist there. Sadly, there is still some uncertainty around education. Will the schools open, won't the schools open, the unions getting involved seems to have created this degree of uncertainty. So it's a trying and a difficult time for education recruiters. The financial services sector has continued to grow, and it represents the single biggest part of the UK economy. It's typically 60 to 65% of our GDP. But the uncertainty over Brexit, trade talks, the positive effect from China and the US earlier in the year seems to have dissipated, with the US government now blaming China for the COVID outbreak. So the post-COVID-19 world is actually slightly different, and so most of the recruitment that's taking place in financial services is around business as usual projects. So here we come to the first change. Energy, we're in our top 5, and we still see this as a very strong sector. The renewable market, the carbon neutral commitments made by the UK government for 2050, and also the European Union government's commitment to reduce targets by 2020 and 2030, see this being a huge market for growth. There is about a need for 500,000 people to work in this sector, and at the moment there's a 221,000 shortfall of new recruits required by 2027 to fill that gap. That's a huge opportunity for businesses like yourselves to get out there and pile into that sector. The downside, the reason this has dropped outside of our top 5, is the oil price. The oil price has come down, and some of us will say that's really good because we're not consuming as much oil. The greenhouse effect on our environment has been tremendous. So the positive sides in this economy are really on the renewables. Nuclear is a bit uncertain, and the downside is obviously oil and gas. So we move into our top 5. Well, here's a new entrant, the logistics market. The logistics industry has thrived throughout COVID and the lockdown. The internet shopping growth has been explosive. Only last week, or only in the last couple of weeks, certainly Hermes have announced they want to recruit an extra 10,000 drivers. That's a huge boost to the sector. It grew strongly in certain parts due to food retail. I know some of my clients that were involved in high street non-food retail struggled, but that is starting to come back on stream now. My caution around this sector is the fact that gross domestic product and consumer spending is still low, and the economists are still uncertain about what effect this is going to have. And the shift from retail to internet shopping is obviously taking place and creating some uncertainties. The uncertainties over Brexit have gone certainly off into the distance, certainly into 2021, and we don't know what the trade talks are going to reveal. But I still feel this is a good sector in the short term for those of you in it, those industrial recruiters, to, as they say, make hay while the sun shines. And my connection with the market and the industry and the lenders in this market are that they're seeing that recruitment agencies in this sector as having strong growth. The next sector is engineering. Engineering was always in my top 5. It's been in the top 5 for the last 10 years, and there is a global shortage of engineers. The UK's government to commit £100 billion to public infrastructure projects over the next 5 years means that this is a great opportunity. So huge commitment to things like full broadband fibre, and I think that will be accelerated. The government are looking at shovel-ready projects, as they call, projects that can go live now. And that is one where I think putting fibre into most homes in Britain, particularly as we're all working from home, will increase productivity. I don't know about you, but I've struggled with outages on my broadband due to bandwidth issues. And those are not in my house, those are in the street. The number of people working from home that are streaming on Zoom and web conferencing facilities like WebEx and GoToMeeting, they've massively impacted us. There are also plans to build a battery gigafactory. There is a national plug-in network for electric cars, and there's been a large amount of commitment to rail and road upgrades. HS2 and potentially HS3, the Northern Powerhouse project. All of those things are out there, and we see this as being a big opportunity for recruiters. There is also another demographic issue. There is the ageing population. In particular, the greybeards, as they're often called in the engineering sector, the baby boomers who were born pre-1966. All of them are looking to retire from the industry. So this is a big problem which requires significant investment in recruitment over the next 4, 5, 6 years. And IR35, which has gone away till next year, will also impact this, because the ability for people to come back on a part-time basis and earn a reasonable amount of income, that's kind of disappearing. So we have to watch this. That's why, for me, it's at number 4. Healthcare. What can I say about these amazing people? NHS have been tremendous during lockdown. They've saved so many lives. We've been out there banging our pots and pans and applauding. Certainly my family and my street have been. And it's been amazing to see. And I'm delighted to see that the government is recognising their commitment to us as people and the risks that they've taken by giving them an above inflation pay rise. But let's not forget there is still a demand for extra nurses. The government made a commitment for an extra 31,500 more nurses, an extra 5,000 GPs, extra ancillary staff and support staff. And we can't forget that there is still a very strong chance of a second wave. But for me, the NHS has been big winners and will continue to be. And those of you in that recruitment sector, it's heavily structured around frameworks, so you will struggle to break in if you're a new entrant into that market. But there is opportunity to help the nation, support us and get Britain back working. And the care sector particularly is desperately short of good quality care workers. So we're into the top 2, and at number 2, well, IT. It was never going to go away. The underlying demand for IT skills is huge. It's colossal. Those figures that I've put on the screen there in front of you, 350,000 almost data analysts, nearly 300,000 cybersecurity jobs. Those skills are not going to be satisfied tomorrow. They're not going to be satisfied the year after. There is a huge demand for extra tech. And one of the things I'm hearing about people that are making staff redundant at the moment is that when they look to grow again, they will not be looking to take on large numbers of people. We are already seeing the shift away from low skilled jobs being lost forever, and that technology will replace them. So those of you in recruitment need to look at moving into IT and technology, particularly those that are in niche recruitment functions and niche recruitment businesses. So if you've been doing your maths, if you've been thinking about it, you'll see that for me, the sector which is going to come out of this the strongest, and it was already coming out the strongest, is the one I tip to grow the strongest this year, and that's construction. Yes, the government has committed £100 billion for infrastructure. They also committed earlier this year for 1 million new homes over the next 5 years. There's huge amounts of foreign investment out there waiting to come in from China, the US and Norway. There's a pent-up demand. And 8% of workers are in that sector are from Europe. And what's going to happen to them? There are big wage rate increases going across, but there are still shortages in surveyors, bricklayers, electricians, scaffolders, site managers and ground workers. And what I can tell you from the agencies that I'm working with is that their demand is now back to the levels they were pre-COVID, and in a lot of cases are at the same level they were this time last year. But this sector is going to go through some huge changes. There has been a large shift away from permanent staff into temporary labour. So those of you involved in permanent recruitment in this sector, unless you're dealing with professional people, could suddenly find there is not as much demand for your site managers, for your project managers and your project planners. So I encourage everybody who's in recruitment to get out there. Let's work together. Let's work hard to get Britain working. Let's work with each other to move this country forward. We have, for me, the greatest recruitment industry in the world. I've worked in Europe, I've worked with customers in the US, I'm currently doing that right now, and I've worked myself in countries like Germany, Northern European countries like Belgium and the Netherlands, and also supported my colleagues when I worked for a major high street recruiter down in the southern European countries. And the British and the English and the Scottish and the Welsh and the Irish recruitment businesses, they are brilliant. They are fantastic at recycling unemployed people. We have got the biggest job to do that has ever been done by a recruitment industry, and we're more than capable of doing it. So I encourage everybody to get out there, to keep Britain working, and thank you very much for listening. And if you want to know any more, you want a personal discussion or chat, then please drop me a note and let's have a Zoom meeting. Good to talk to you, and thanks for listening. Bye bye for now.